Pakistan Academy of Sciences sponsored agriculture policy debate. We changed few names. First is Zoom webinar, then Pakistan Academy of Sciences Agriculture webinar, and now we are about to settle on the name that it is agriculture policy debate. At the end of the day, actually, we are trying to debate issues and come up with some consensus note on that, and that we make available as a brief through social media. There has been a tremendous interest in this series. Every time we have, on an average, 200 to 300 people registered and logged in directly or through YouTube. This week we have a very interesting topic, which is a continuation of last week's discussion on zinc nutrition, taking it to a bigger level. But there is a background which I would like to share with the participants. Many years back, about a decade ago, Dr. Rashid was, who is our keynote speaker today, he was Director General of UV Agriculture Research Institute, and he was about to retire. I requested him not to retire and carry on what is professionally interesting for him. So we sat down and he thought that balanced nutrition is lacking in the system. Our fertilizer industry is focused on urea production. Other macro elements, particularly phosphorus and potash, are not balanced with nitrogen. And then as a result, there are micronutrient deficiencies. I'm not a soil and fertility expert, but whatever I have learned from Dr. Rashid, I felt that there was very important initiative on his part. So we went ahead and got him started through some internal resources. In the meantime, ICT Research Fund asked for proposals to finance research in agriculture sector. And Dr. Sheed, along with his computer wizards, who were our computer science people, particularly the faculty members who participated with him, and they wrote a very good proposal. They defended the proposal, and they were funded by ICT fund. While the ICT fund was research was in progress, there was another supplemental grant which came from ICARDA. So for years, this research and outreach program ran, and impressive data sets were generated. There was a lot of outreach activity done in several districts. I felt appropriate that we make the work of Dr. Sheed and his team available to our colleagues and peers who have been participating in this series. Today we have invited with us, who have joined or they will join, Dr. Tariq Singh Sahota. He is a Facebook friend, and it was just coincidence that a few weeks back he had flashed on the Facebook that Canada had a record wheat year, whereas we had the worst wheat years consecutively, worst cotton years consecutively. So I requested him, why don't you join us and tell us what has made a Canadian wheat year to be a record year. And he has very kindly agreed to join. I hope he will join us during the course. Huh? He has arrived. Welcome, sir. And then I would also like to mention that Dr. Majid was instrumental in supporting this program through ICARDA funds. And whatever Dr. She did, that was also presented to the stakeholders, including provincial government. And during the days when Rashad Nangrial was Secretary Agriculture, he took initiative of expanding the the philosophy of what Dr. Sheed has basically promoted, that there should be analysis-based fertilizer recommendations. So he launched a program by the name of 2.0, which was aimed at gathering more data, soil and water analysis, because Dr. Shee's work was based on available data, which was to be expanded through 2.0. And for the discussion on 2.0, I have requested Dr. Anjum Buttar to join us. So I hope that he will be able to enlighten us where do we stand with 2.0 today. Okay, so with this brief background, I would also like to acknowledge that last week we had an event which was largely initiative of FFC, a young scientist Ansar, and his boss Tariq Shah. And again, I requested FFC to join today's event, and FFC also has their own activity of balanced fertilizer use. So after Dr. Shees will also listen to FFC version of balanced fertilizer use. So to begin the task, and before I request Dr. Sheed to get started, I do want to acknowledge that while we have professional interest, we also have government and stakeholders interest. Particularly, I'm grateful to Dr. Manzoor Somro, who is chairman of ECO Science Foundation. He has taken keen interest in each and every event. Somro sir, welcome. And Sardar Hasnain Dareshak, Provincial Minister for Livestock. He has also made sure to attend our webinars consistently. Dr. Majid has also arrived, and welcome, Dr. Saab. And let's go on, and I request Dr. Sheed to make his presentation. Rashid Saab.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Today, I am going to discuss the balance use of fertilizer for wheat. It will not be a traditional talk, but sir, can you allow our screen sharing?
I think you are allowed, sir. You can use the screen.
Can you ask the host to put the screen sharing allowed? He is disabled.
Azad at Barani University, he is supposed to allow screen sharing. Shazad Saab?
Yes. Still, it's disabled. So thank you very much for putting the screen sharing on. So I'm going to talk about the balanced use of fertilizer. It will be, as introduced Professor Dr. Iqrar Ahmed, that it will be output of almost 4 projects, which was run at University of Agriculture, Faisalabad during last 10 years. So let's see that every plant needs all the nutrients for its proper growth and development. And the source for the plants to get these nutrients is air, water, and soil. So air and water is sufficient, but we have to see the soil. And when we look at the soils, because of climatic conditions, our nitrogen is deficient in almost all the soils because of high temperature and low organic matter. So figures which most of the scientists share is about 90% soils mean all soils are deficient in nitrogen. And similarly, when we look at the phosphorus, even it's there, but because of, again, I said calcareousness of the soils, nature of the soils, all the phosphorus is not available, and even if it is there, the meat of the plants is not met from the phosphorus from the soils. It also becomes deficient. Similarly, when we look at the potash, we are using potash extensively, even in cases of mostly cases more than nitrogen, but addition is negligible yet. We can look at the figures just after this slide. Zinc deficiency was first pointed out, of course, in rice, and that has also created deficiency because of reduced conditions. But later on, if we go to the citrus orchards and many other crops, we are getting this deficiency. Similarly, boron is coming up, and iron and copper. So we can see that major imbalance is between nitrogen and phosphorus, and then others. And if we look at the use of nitrogen and phosphorus, especially I have referred Punjab province. So we started using fertilizers in 71, 72. And we started with very low amount of nitrogen and then phosphorus. And after 10 years, from 20 average, we went to 43 and phosphorus 12. So slowly and slowly, we started increasing the use of phosphorus. But if you look at the last column, potash, we don't find anywhere more than average 2 kg. So it means we are not using potash. Even we look at the last year figure, 18-19, it's 137 nitrogen and 48 phosphorus with 2 kg potash average. So it means that we are, but when we look at the figures of the country and the province, so it is not really reflecting the true picture. When we want to see the true picture, we go through some of the districts. I just put the examples. If we look at the average use of Multan, nitrogen has gone 326 per acre, kg per acre. And phosphorus is 120 per hectare, not acre, per hectare. But 326 means that there are many people who are using more than 326. That's why it's average. But to the adjoining district, that is Lofragad, it's 142. And phosphorus is 3 times less, 40. Similarly, if we look at the northern sides, that's Gujranwala and Shivpura, these are the adjoining districts. In Gujranwala, the average is 208 and Shivpura is 119. Similarly, phosphorus, 66 and 42. And we look at the Okada and Sargodha, these are the mixed cropping zone. Okada is 168 average with the Sargodha 67. Similarly, Laya and Bakhar, those are the adjoining districts. Laya is 99 and Bakhar is 27 with the phosphorus 28 and 10. So Attak, Brani area, rain-fed area and Chakwal, those are adjoining districts. Attak is 32 and Chakwal is 6 kg per hectare. So it means that when we look at the figures at the province level, really that is not reflecting the true picture. So we have to see to the districts, and ultimately we have to come to the fertility base for every field. That was our target of our project. When we look at the general recommendations has to be general. We cannot make it specific. When we talk at the irrigated area, it's spread in all over the Punjab. So general recommendations remains almost same throughout last 50, 60 years, and it has to remain same because specific recommendations are based on the soil fertility level of the soil. And when we have analyzed the data of soil fertility of many years, we have seen that just by balancing nitrogen and phosphorus with the same amount, we can get 35% more yield in wheat and 40% yield in maize, 35% more in cotton, and about 20% in rice and 10% in sugarcane with the same amount of expenditure just by balancing it. And National Fertilizer Development Center, which was working at that time with Tariq Shah, the experts there, and we sit with them, and we made the calculations on the basis of data in Punjab province. If we balance the fertilizer only on 50% area, we are using nitrogen excessively and phosphorus less. If we just balance it, and we can save more than 300 billions on 50% area if we balance it. But the question came before our prediction models that when we are taking off every field has a different soil fertility level. And we have to go for soil fertility, we have to go for nitrogen, and with the target of crop shield and the soil level, we have to see which crop it is, which district it is, which level it is. Then we have to go for every field. That was the base when we are talking of all the time, right amount of phosphorus, right time of application, right kind of fertilizer, right ratio. When we are talking these 4 R's. So first R is very difficult till the time we don't have database fertilizer prediction models. Right amount for every field will depend on the soil fertility of that field. And then as Professor Ikrar said, that it was his initiative, it was his kindness, that he did efforts, and he find out the funds to start this work. And in this project, there were 2 teams. One was agriculture team and one was IT team. The IT team was headed by Mr. S. Nazar, who belonged to Computer Department of University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, and I was concerned to the agriculture team. And we started to develop fertilizer prediction models which are data-based. Now, when we have to look at the data in the country, we went data of all the organizations, but unfortunately, we could not find the data of any organization except soil fertility, where we can find every tribe with the yield of same field and analysis of same field. It was only soil fertility. So it is kindness to soil fertility. The directors, Dr. Shah and Dr. Mehdi, they were very kind enough to extend the whole data facilities. So we used the 10 years data of soil fertility with the same field, and we analyzed the data. We separated data district-wise, we separated data crop-wise, and first target we started was wheat model for Multan. And we entered the data according to our requirement of IT team and gave it to IT team. They developed the model. Then the first model which we developed for wheat crop, it was shared with the university administration, chaired by the vice chancellor and the scientists of the university. They recommended that it's not the university. You call the meeting of all stakeholders. We requested extension department, research department, education, farmers, industry. We had a big meeting in which this model was shared. And then they suggested, go ahead with the conference of basic basic workers in Multan, all the field level workers. Then invited all the field level workers from Multan, from all the departments and the farmers, and shared this model with all of them. When everybody was satisfied with this model, then we started working on other districts, on other crops. So this fertilizer UF.pk has the models for all the 36 districts for wheat, if you look at that, and rice districts in the north, 12 districts, and maize for 7 districts, sugarcane for 6 districts, and cotton in the, of course, south for 15 districts. These models are available. And then we took the data for some vegetables, oil seeds, pulses, and fodder crops. Where data was available, we developed these models. And when we developed the models, the feedback from farmers was that you have developed the models which are only available on the laptop, and we don't have laptops. Then our IT team developed mobile application, which is available in every Play Store in the name of fertilizer calculator. So we made it available to the farmers in their pocket, the prediction for their nitrogen and phosphorus for this. Then question came up. Of course, we were sure that these are fertilizer prediction methods, these are data-based. But the questions were coming up, you have not validated in the field, how you are sure? Then it's ICARDA country manager, Dr. Majid, who did vigorous efforts to get the funds from USAID and USDA for this validation, for awareness, for feedback, and for adoption. And it was in 2 parts. In first part of this project, we did validation trials. In case of wheat, of course, we are talking of wheat for today. We have many other crops, but we will talk of wheat. We conducted replicated trials in all the districts of wheat in Punjab. And the procedure for this was that we fixed the target yield and then calculated the requirement from the fertilizer prediction models. Then we put in the field the calculated amount of N and P from our models. And if you look at the results on the screen, that in case of 31 trials, 31 treatments, the yield, targeted yield was less and obtained yield was 35%. In 30% trials were more than 100%, more than the target yield. And in case of 40% trials, the obtained yield was between 91 and 100% of the targeted yield. And in case of 30% trials, it was between 80 and 90%. And of course, in 12% trials, it was less than 80%. We got in 88% trials more yield than the target yield. And we fixed the target. If we get 80% of the target yield, we are satisfied. But we got much better than this 80% in most of the trials. So this is results for the wheat. But if we go for other crops, those results were also similar for cotton, for rice, for maize and sugarcane. It's the same representation of those results. And at the same time, when we were working in the field with the farmers, we invited the farmers in the field and asked the host farmer to explain that how he used the fertilizers, how he calculated the fertilizers. So we did these field trials, Shahkot, Manga Mandi, Toba Tek Singh, Sargodha, Leia, Miawali, Pakpatan, to show the farmers. And we can show some of the clips in this farmers field. We are there. And these, I will mention, the trials were conducted with the help of soil fertility staff, by the soil fertility people. So soil fertility staff was always there in all these trials. You can just see the clips of farmers fields. Then we came to the, after validation, then all the people were satisfied that we are getting right results which we expect with these models. Then we adopted various means of dissemination, because when we develop the product, so it is not going to the end user, then utility remains very low. So that's why we used all the means of dissemination. We used electronic media, we used print media, we used press conferences, we used SMS. So in case of electronic print media, we used all the national newspapers, and we followed in 3 to 5 daily newspapers this advertisement with the interval of 2 to 3 weeks during the season of the crop. The advertisement was released 32 times during the project period, and the impact was being assessed through the website visitors or fertilizeruf.pk. That was the model, that was the advertisement which we give to the people. So this is in Urdu, which we are releasing to the newspaper. Of course, this advertisement showed that farmers can save on fertilizer and the procedure how to use the website. But we have calculated, we have translated this advertisement in English. The translators, that is low expenditure on fertilizer, give you more productivity. And what we put, how much nitrogen and phosphorus is required to achieve the desired yield of wheat and other crops. And also we put the procedure, how to use this website for the farmers in every advertisement. And we also use the media, that is radio. There are 7 radio stations in Punjab, that is Lahore, Rawalpindi, Multan, Bahawalpur, Faisalabad, Miawali and Sargodha. And we were releasing 8 spots every month from each station, and during of each spot was 60 seconds. The time given was between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. And we continued this publicity for the project period, that is November 2014 to February 2016. And the message was in almost Punjabi. 2 farmers were talking, and we have translated that material here. One was named as Chaudhry Akram, and the second was Chaudhry Amjad. So Chaudhry Akram says, Amjad, what happened? You look tensed. And Amjad says, fertilizer prices are going up every year, but income remains the same. I don't know what to do. Then Akram asks, now say goodbye to all these worries. University of Agriculture, Faisalabad has evolved the solution of this problem, which not only leads to reduction of expenditure on fertilizer, but also results in improving the yield. Then Amjad, can you elaborate further? Then Chaudhry Akram says, according to the University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, fertility status of every field is variable. Therefore, the fertilizer required in every field will also be different. In order to know the fertility status of every field, get your soil tested from the district soil and water testing laboratory. Then what to do? Then you say, open the website of University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, www.fertilizeruf.pk. Click the prediction blog, select your district, and click the crop to be sown. Enter the organic matter and available phosphorus of your field and enter your desired yield. Click the predict button to get the nitrogen and phosphorus required for your desired yield in every field. Then Amjad, I got it. We should only apply required amount of fertilizer for desired yield. Now I understand how expenditure will reduce. Chaudhry Akram. Amjad, we all should consult this website, fertilizer requirement before sowing the crop so that our expenditure reduces and yield increases. Prosperity of farmers, prosperity of Pakistan. This message was being released all the radio stations, and this was talk between two farmers. And we also use the media press conferences. Of course, the journalist and this press conference are also very effective media. And we hold these press conferences in Rawalpindi, Lahore, Multan, Faisalabad, Sahiwal, Bahawalpur. And in every cases, the participation of journalists and the TV people, newspaper people was about 50, 60, 70. And the main role played in this electronic and print media, it's Directorate of Agricultural Information, Rafiq Sahab, Director. We are grateful. He helped us making all these arrangements. So press conferences and this all media. And then we had the press conference, Sargodha, DG Khan, Leia, Gujranwala, then for SMS, Faisalabad, Okada, and Jang. We have few clips to show. You can see this first press conference we has at Rawalpindi. Their vice chancellor of the university was there, Dr. Majid, Rafiq, and everybody was there. And then we have press conference at Lahore, and Dr. Ikrar, the vice chancellor of university, headed this press conference. And we have press conference. You can see the clips at Multan, and then at Faisalabad. Minister of Agriculture participated in Sahiwal press conference, and Vice Chancellor, Nawaz Sharif University, Dr. Asaf joined us in DG Khan and Bahawalpur. So we had these press conferences, we invited the media, and the news was published in all the newspapers every next day. Then the most effective media was SMS service. So we started this in 2016. We got the addresses, of course, with the courtesy of Mr. Rafiq, Director of Agricultural Information, Dr. Anjam Ali Buttar, and other people working in the field. So we got the addresses of 1 million farmers. And the first SMS was released on September 15, 2016. We released it to 1 million farmers, and we were confirmed that 6 lakh farmers, 6,20,000 farmers received it. And then after 3 weeks, second message was leaked. Message we was just giving that how much fertilizer for desired yield, get soil analyzed, less expenditure, more yield, get soil analyzed, like this, to save expenses on fertilizer to get more yield. So we released 4 messages every time to 1 million farmers, and every time the number of farmers was increasing. 7 lakh, about 6 lakh, 7,93,000, 6 lakh, 71,000. So people was showing interest in these SMS. And we were using the tool, our fertilizer uf.website, for the impact of these messages. If you look at the September, October, November, December, when messages are leaked, and usually the people visiting the website was less than 2,000 every week. But immediately after our message, the figure jumped to 11,000 in September, and then October 13,000, and then November 15,000. You remember this figure, it's very important. At the end I'll show after the project what happened. So in 1 week, when we sent the message, up to 15,000 visited the website, calculated the amount of fertilizer. And this period, during this project period, about 18 months, 1,14,000 people visited the website. Then at the same time, also we established a call center at our community college, Fertilizer Facilitation Center. We had the after our exchange, and we have the call agents that were sitting in the call center, and all the technical staff, including myself, was available to the farmers through the phone. They were asking their questions. If call agents were able to answer the questions, okay. Otherwise, they were directing to us, and we are trying to satisfy the farmers. And the procedure was that if they are on the landline, it was free. The bill was paid by the university. But if they come from mobile, we get the question, ask them to put off his mobile, and we call back them to give their answer. So first message was released, and then we called 531 calls. But second message, we give the number of this center, we got 1,265 calls. And on third message, we got 884 calls. So from this first phase of the project, we learned the lesson in awareness that SMS is the most effective media to send the message to every farmer. But there are two issues which were pointed out, that when we look at the farmers, 65% farmers in Punjab are owning the land of less than 5 acres. They clearly said that they cannot reach to the laboratories. They don't have time, they don't have sources to go to for soil analysis. So that was the main hurdle for adoption of this model, that if they cannot get the soil analysis, they cannot use the fertilizer prediction models. And the second issue was that for the facilitation of the farmers, we put the production plans released by the Department of Agriculture on our website, so that they not only depend on the fertilizer doses, but right from the preparation of land, sowing, irrigation, weeds removal, all the production factors which are mentioned in detail by the Department of Agriculture, and production plan is issued. We put these production plans on our website, but farmers said it's not possible for us to read on the mobile these 35 pages, 40 pages. So do something else. So these were the two issues which we find out during our awareness campaigns. So in the second part of this project, we try to address these issues. So for this soil analysis problem, but Dr. Majid and his team played leading role in find out this link. And it was decided that we find out the service provider in that village. Farmers will be willing to pay to the service provider, and if we get the samples from his field, take to the laboratory, get the soil analyzed, and go back to the farmer, and then facilitate him to use the fertilizer according to the fertility level of that field. And then what we did was, in the initial stages, we got trained service providers who were very trained in soil sampling, coming to the lab, taking. And then we started at the same time training the service providers from those villages. We selected 3 villages in Faisalabad, in Tehsil of Faisalabad, that is 81. Here I will mention that Chaudhry Abdul Hamid, Director Agriculture Extension Faisalabad, played major role to help us to select these villages and connect to the farmers. So in this village, we selected 273 farmers, and we sampled their field. We took 1,600 samples from these 273 farmers. Not we, but those service providers. And then we selected in Jadawala, check number 109, and 1,600 samples from 256 farmers. And then check number 411 from Tehsil Tandiawala. We selected 241 farmers, and we took 1,600 samples. So from 770 farmers from that each field, we sampled 4,800 samples, and this was done by those service providers, trained by the trained service providers of our staff in those villages. Our agriculture officers, our field assistants were with them by giving them training. So on the basis of analysis got from the laboratory, we are thankful to Dr. Mehdi The Faisalabad laboratory cooperated full with us and provided soil analysis on a priority basis. For 40-month target and 50-month target, we calculated, we helped the farmers, tell them how much fertilizer to use. And then we had the survey from the farmers. And every farmer, almost every farmer from these 770 farmers, they said that we are saving from 2,000 rupees to 3,000 rupees per acre on the use of fertilizer. They reduced the amount of fertilizer and they did it balance on the field. And this year, unfortunately, everybody knows was bad year. Not canal water was not available. It was very drought at critical stages. Smoke plagued the sowing, and government was taking up the publicity for alternate crops. Even then, the predicted yield was not less than the yield which they were using the fertilizer. So of course, because of constraints, we could not increase the yield, but we reduced rupees 2,000 to 3,000 their expenditure in these villages by the farmers. And to get the feedback from these farmers, we continue sending SMS to these farmers. Messages received, we sent from 8,44,000, received by 61,000. So in total wheat crop season, it was 28 lakh people who received our message. And we received 2,500 calls at our call center. And only in case of these 3 months, the website visits were 29,000. So second problem which we felt was the production plans, which farmers said we cannot read. So what we did was that we prepared videos with the experts of research system. For all major crops, that is wheat, we invited Dr. Makhdoom, and for the cotton, we invited Dr. Abad, and for the maize, Rafiq, and for rice, it was Dr. Rice at that time, and then for maize, for sugarcane, it was Dr. Sugarcane and the other staff. We prepared the videos, we put on our website, as well as we put these videos on YouTube, which are even available at this time. So I was just looking at the figures. We put these videos at the end of November 17 to June 2018. So I just put the figures on wheat. The wheat, we split the videos with the interval of 15 minutes. So first part was sowing and preparation for 15 minutes. 1,339 people viewed this video. And for use of fertilizer, 21,394 people listened to this video. And then irrigation and weeds, 9,400. And disease and harvesting, 6,000. So people are taking interest. They went for every detail from these videos. And to have the feedback of the farmers, we had meetings at these 3 villages, and all the stakeholders were invited in this meeting, and every meeting was attended about 350 to 400 people. And the first meeting was held in Jadamala Tehsil. Dr. Abad, Director General Research, was to be chairing this meeting. Because of emergency, he could not come, but Dr. Mehdi was there. All other stakeholders, Mushtaq Gill, Apne Majid Saab, and the farmers and industry, everybody was there in this meeting. Farmers give their viewpoints, how they find this model, and all the experts also spoke. And then second meeting in Tandriawala was held, 378 participants. And this meeting was chaired by the Vice Chancellor of University, Professor Iqbal Zafar. I would like to mention him that he took deep interest in this project, deep interest in every meeting and every activity of this project during his tenure. So in this meeting, he was there personally, and all the experts and the farmers gave their viewpoints to all the other farmers. The third meeting was held in Pensra, Chak 81, and it was chaired by Director General Extension, Zafar Yab Haider. But the Vice Chancellor of the University said that I just want to participate in this meeting as a participant, and he came. Iqbal Zafar was there, and the doctors of Zafar, Yab Haider, he was there, Mushtaq, Gil, Aslam, and all the participants were there. Similarly, you know, you have seen number was 380, and people gave their viewpoints, feedback, the farmers speak, and the experts speak, and everybody felt. This is the detail of website visits, and you can see that during wheat season, these were 3,470 visits, 4,300 visits, 5,000 visits of the website during this wheat season in 1 week. This is for 1 week wheat season. So people won. And when we closed this project in June 18, the farmers which were getting used to using this website, they continued using website. We admit we have some problems with the website. Sometime it was closed, sometime it has a problem. But we got the figures that during first 6 months after the project, 6,741 farmers used this website. Even there was no sponsor, there was no activity, there was no awareness campaigns, but they were using this website. And next January to 30 June 2019, 3,589 farmers used this website. And then next 6 months, 1st July to 31st December 2019, 2,000 farmers go on decreasing. Then this last 8 months, there of this 2020, 2,751 farmers. So after the closure of project, when there is no activity, of course, I'm sorry to say that after June 2018, there is no activity because University of Agriculture Faistabad was playing the leading role. I can very clearly say that Department of Agriculture, Research Extension, and Soil Fertility Department, and universities, all the farmers, industry, everybody cooperated in this project. But because leading role was to be played by the university, and because of frequent changes in the management after June 2018, there was no leading role. So the activities of this project has been stopped. So I am going to stop here with the thanks to all those people who cooperated, who took interest in this project. And I will be there and very happy to have discussion on any point which I spoke. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shisa. You have made a very thorough presentation on your decade-long engagement in this balanced fertilizer use. Your efforts have been rewarded with a lot of response and interest taken by the farmers as well as the stakeholders. I wish we could continue your work, and I hope that there will be better days ahead of us. Okay, so our next speaker would be Dr. Tariq Javed. As I've already mentioned, that Fauji Fertilizer Corporation also has a very strong portfolio in balanced use of fertilizer. They have field labs and outreach programs. So I would like to ask Tariq Saab to make his presentation. Ji, over to you, Tariq.
If you have time. Hello.
Yes. No, sir. I am ready to talk.
Can I?
Okay.
Make one or two comments? Okay. First of all, I'm really grateful to Dr. Ikrar to really inviting me for this seminar. I really enjoyed working with you, Dr. Ikrar, and the university, and particularly with Dr. Rashid when he was working with ICARDA at the University of Islamabad. So I think Dr. Rashid has explained everything very clearly. One or two things I like to add. What happened after Dr. Rashid has left? So I think one thing very important happened. It's unfortunate Dr. Rashid left, and Dr. Ikrar, you left. So, you know, but we continue with the next Vice Chancellor, Dr. Zafar. He did also cooperate with us particularly. And as Dr. Rashid mentioned, there was no problem of reading and getting soil fertility analysis done by big farmers from the labs. But there was a big problem for small farmers to get the analysis done because they don't have any resource to move and go there because they have 4 or 5 acres of land. So what Dr. Rashid has mentioned, we developed this concept of agriculture service providers, particularly for small farmers. Dr. Sheet tested them. They played a very important role at the time. We compensated them during project time, but after the project, when we were continuing, but we trained more agriculture service providers, taking that model further. I like to tell you that after training them, there were four ASPs, and they were working in 4 districts like Bihari. We expanded it into Bihari. We expanded into Gujranwala and also Sheikhupura in those districts and Narwal, in addition to Faisalabad. I like to tell you that without paying any money, we told them, you take the samples, you take to the laboratory, you get the analysis done, you give back the results to the farmer, and farmer will pay you. So for the last 1 year, 1.5 years, we started that thing in April. I tell you that every service provider was working there in addition to other jobs, and they actually did 200 farmers in their time and almost covered 17,000 acres. And they were rewarded with 50 rupees up to 500 rupees by analyzing a sample. So it has become a really job for them and partial job for them. And this thing is now automatically moving on. And from one to the other, we have now almost about 70 ASPs in the country, and they are doing service on different technologies in addition to this very important technology with Dr. Rashid and also university generated. So I think the role of ASP in future, particularly for small farmer, will continue playing an important role in addition to really the role which university has played to take this message further. Thank you very much. All I wanted to really add, but She's good speech has already mentioned everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Majid, for bringing up the concept of ASP, which is an entrepreneurial model in the making. And we hope that that ASP portfolio expands and maybe the industry takes note of that. We have with us Dr. Noor Muhammad Bhatt Sahab. He is the former chairman of Pakistan Science Foundation. But Bhatt Sahab, if you allow us, we will first get the presentation from FFC, and then I'll give the forum to Dr. Bhatt. So Tariq, first you finish.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you very much. Dr. Shah, the presentation was very impressive and very good. He has covered almost each and every aspect regarding the balanced use of fertilizers. Now I would like to supplement his presentation and through my presentation. So we, Dr. Saab, we also have a very good lab with us. This is now working, I think, at this. Okay. On the basis of the labs that we have for the fertilizer company, these labs are located at 5 locations, and we have collected our data through these 5 laboratories throughout Pakistan. From Hyderabad, we have 1 lab at Hyderabad, and second one is at Rahim Yar Khan, and the third one is at Multan, and fourth one is Sheikhupura, and the 5th one is at Sargodha. We keep on providing these services to the farming community since 1986. We have started this project with the help of Italian government, and we keep on continuing to date. In addition, we also have set up a micronutrient lab at Multan. On the basis of these soil samples that we have collected from 104,000 farms, we have collected approximately 540,000 soil and water samples throughout the Pakistan. On the basis of those results, we will give you data that organic matter in all of the soils, that 94% soils are deficient in organic matter in Pakistan, whereas phosphates or phosphorus content is a little bit more alarming. 98% soils are deficient according to our analysis, whereas potash are a little bit better, and its deficiency is 46%. Whereas zinc deficiency is found on 85% of the soils, whereas boron deficiency is approximately 59%. And whereas you will see this graph That blue line shows the nitrogen being used in the fields of Pakistan. If you see this curve, it is a little bit steep, whereas the color with the yellow color showing the phosphorus used in Pakistan. This is also increasing throughout the history when we count from 1979 to date, but its curve is little bit less sharp. But if you look at the red line, that is very alarming. It is approximately parallel to the zero line. That seems the potash usage is very less in our soils. Whereas you see that deficiency is also there, but the use of these fertilizers is very imbalanced. There is a need to balance it. If you look at this usage ratio in Pakistan, you will see that if we are using 1 kg of phosphorus, we are using 2.54 kg of nitrogen, whereas the negligible use of potash is being seen in this area of Punjab. Whereas if you look at the usage of these fertilizers in the world, you will see it is very much different than our uses in Pakistan. Whereas the recommended doses, you know, from this area is had to be, if we are using 1 kg of phosphorus, then 2 kg of nitrogen and 0.5 kg of potash should be used for better crops. As you know, 50% area of Pakistan is under wheat cultivation. So there is more needed to use balanced use of fertilizer in wheat crop. And wheat crop is very much economical, as well as it is the staple food of our Pakistan. So we have to give our dire concentration on this, that we should make this balanced fertilizer in order to enhance the fertilizer, in order to enhance the per acre yield of the crops. Although the yield potential in Pakistan for the wheat varieties is much more than we are getting at this point of time. That is, average yield of Pakistan is 28 mans per acre, whereas the yield potential is much more, that is more than 70 mans, but achievable potential is around 50 mans. So there is a gap of 22 mans per acre in the yield. So if we can balance our fertilizer uses and wheat crop, and I have exposed it, total area of Pakistan is 21.28 million acres. And if we can only 25% can enhance through our this balance use of fertilizers, then total projected increase due to the balance use of fertilizer in Pakistan will be around 200 billion rupees. And if we can implement it to all the crops, all the 4 major crops of Pakistan, that is wheat, cotton, rice, sugarcane, then total amount that we can enhance to the national economy of Pakistan, that will be around 40 billion rupees. So this is only because of this balanced use of fertilizer. With these words, I would like to thank you, Dr. Saab.
Tariq, very brief and crisp presentation. You have actually enhanced the discussion from where Dr. Sridhar left. Okay, now I'll invite our discussants. First, I will request Bhatt Saab. Ji, Bhatt Saab. Nur Mohammad Bhatt Saab, former chairman, Pakistan Science Foundation.
Ji, Dr. Saab, I first I'm very grateful to you for giving me 1 or 2 minutes to talk about one thing which is for the current requirement and the future. And that's the use of these fertilizers on the nanoscale. And this is what is currently being done in several countries. Recently, I've been looking, this is an interdisciplinary thing, and I wanted to just indicate there is a lot to do with these nano, improve the crops product and the efficiency and saving the fertilizer and then economize it. So there are different aspects by using nano fertilizer. I think the experts, I'm not a agriculturist. I'm a physicist, but working in nanosciences these days, which has interaction in many fields of science, including agriculture. So some of the one or two salient points I'd like to mention is that the use of fertilizers, you can have the controlled release of the fertilizers. And it has been reported recently that in this release, in the current situation, it takes about 4 to 10 days that your fertilizer is released to the soil and so on. But using nanofertilizer, you can increase this release over 40 to 50 days, which is a great saving and use of the fertilizer properly. Then it is, that means that the cost will be saved. And then the advantage is that the salt accumulation will also be less using the nanofertilizers, which is, that means the present seeds are coated with nano materials. And this, I think, is available in the current literature if our researchers can go on to it. And then, you know, the synthesization of these nutrients is also good using these nanotechnology. And then the balanced fertilizer, which is today's talk, is also mentioned in a better way using these nanofertilizers. And also the low toxicity. So these are the sort of these things. I was just looking, even a report has been published on micro needles for packaging of, this is a little different, but still in the field of agriculture. The packaging materials people have devised for quality checking in some bionic system by using the latest 3D printing. It's a small needle-like, this is done by the MIT in the USA, and it is reported, in fact, on 9th of September, I saw just 2 days back, this report. I can send it to somebody interested. And they say that this film has micro needles which pierce the package, which is already a packed material, and it takes up certain fluids at a certain pH value. And the color of these pricks needle, which is in the plastic, it changes from blue to red and so on. So it's a good indicator, and you can, these companies like Kraft, you know, very well food company, they can save the product's quality can be before they ship on, so on. And even some electronic tongue for testing these. So there's a lot of nanotechnology. In short, I would suggest that our very well-known researchers in agriculture, I'm very much pleased to see the previous methods being done very well, the soil testing and so on. But I think there is a need of these getting onto the new areas. And of course, to see the safety of these fertilizers into the soil and so on. But there's a lot of benefits which are reported. Thank you very much. A very brief introduction I wanted to make.
Well, sir, thank you very much, sir, for your word of wisdom, and particularly your promotion of nano applications, nano fertilizer and nano everything is catching up, and I'm sure there is a younger audience here who are listening to you, and nano has a future. Okay, so to take the discussion further, I would like to now invite Dr. Manzoor Somro for his comments. Somro Saab.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, and it's really wonderful to see how this project together with the University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, the CADA and other stakeholders had been implemented. What I like the most is the engagement of the farming community. And I think the communication tools that have been used and its impact, I like to share with you that recently I together with my colleagues, communication in Pakistan. It's actually a book chapter published by Australian National University, and it's going to be launched on the 15th of September. I will share the link with you, and one can join for the comments. the communication of all the scientific research to the actual user, I think is far more important. And this project has demonstrated what I just saw. Dr. Rashid present the results and the activities of the project, and Dr. Majid endorsed that. Well, Dr. Majid and I have been working, many years ago at NARC, and then I've been following his work. We also use this farmer field school approach for the pest management. And what I conclude is that whatever research the scientific community is doing, until and unless it is really linked and rather done together with the farmers, I think those benefits will always remain in the reports and papers, and the benefit to the productivity of the farming community and ultimately the economy of the country does not come forward. Now, my question is that, okay, we did the project very well, but what after project? I did hear that afterwards farmers have been visiting website and communication, but I think for the sustainability of such an excellent program, perhaps something must have been done, and also whether the economics of that project have been done so as to look at the rate of return, as the economists put it. So question is, what has been done for the sustainability, and whether any of the associations or other NGOs are engaged so that they can continue to interact with the farmer. In fact, the experts may not be with the farmers all the time, but if you have trained the farming community and they work together as a community in groups, then I think things can sustain very nicely, and the farmer to farmer skills are always there. And as we know, coming from the rural background, from a farming family, I know that the knowledge that our farming community has, it is always transferred from one generation to another. So thank you very much, Dr. Saab, and I really appreciate and congratulate the project leadership, including yourself, Dr. Rashid, Dr. Majid, and many others who have been involved. FFC, of course, I see that they have been part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sobhu Saab. I wonder if Buttar has arrived. Buttar Saab, aap hain yahan pe? Dr. Buttar. I had invited Buttar Saab because this work was extended to Provincial Extension Department through a major investment under the title of 2.0, which was an extension project to promote soil and water analysis. Probably Buttar Saab came busy, he could not come. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was a snapshot of our experience in Pakistan about balancing fertilizer use in wheat, which is 50% of the entire fertilizer consumption. In previous two episodes, we discussed wheat varietal landscape and wheat seed supply chain. We had very experienced hands who spoke about genetics and seed technology components, and there was consensus that there is no shortage of varieties. We have varieties which can deliver on an average 60 months plus or 6 tons per hectare. And if we improve the seed technology, that can change the landscape with about 15 to 20% of gains. Here in fertilizer experience, we have seen the convincing evidence that you can actually predict the yield if we match it with the nutrient application. That desired level of fertilizer is assured. As I mentioned in the opening remarks, Tariq Shah, who is the director of a center in Canada, he flashed Canadian wheat record here that they are harvesting or they have just harvested. So let's learn from Dr. Sohota what makes Canadian wheat year 2020 as record year. Over to you, Sohota Sahab. Feel free. Huh? Please unmute yourself, and you have heard our predicament. We are stagnant on wheat for years now.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, you are visible and you are audible, sir. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. And, thank you for the opportunity given to me to participate in this wonderful talk. I appreciate what Dr. Rashid and Tariq Javed said. The only thing I missed in the talk is that I didn't know the exact nutrient status of the soils, even though I have an idea of the, how many soils are, majority soils are deficient in phosphorus, nitrogen, and potash, for example. Now, coming to Canadian wheat, wheat is one of the main crops in Canada. Other is canola. And as we all know, wheat is a temperate crop. And we have a temperate climate in Canada. So that's one reason that wheat has been doing good in Canada. And second reason is that our breeding system is very strong. So there are a lot of different wheats, and every year new varieties come. And not only the private sector breeds wheat, but also the public sector is fairly strong. Now, for example, we have two main type of wheats: winter wheat, which we seed in the fall. In my province or my area, we seed in August, September, and some area they seed even in October. And then it's harvested after about 11 months, or even a full year. So for 4 months in the winter, it stays dormant under the snow, and then come spring, it starts growing. So in the winter wheat also, there are three categories. There's white, soft white winter wheat, which is used mainly for cookies, and then soft red wheat, and hard red winter wheat. And then we have then spring wheat, which is basically equal to the wheat we seed in India and Pakistan, usually in October, November, and harvest in March, April, or sometime even up to early May in colder areas. So that we seed in the month of May, and harvest in August, September. That we call it spring wheat. So in the spring wheat also, we have a lot of categories, like for example, we have hard red spring wheat, and the hard red we have Canadian prairie red spring, we have Canadian north hard red, we have Canadian western red spring, we have Canadian eastern red spring. Lot of categories of wheat are there, and every year new varieties come, and they come with better yield. And as we all know, there are three main factors for determining yield or production potential of any crop. One is, of course, weather, which is not under our control, but if a crop is temperate, and if it grows in temperate region, it will grow well. And second is genetics, which we can modify. And then third is the management factor. And in the management factor, what most Canadian farmers, they test their soil. That's one thing. And secondly, they follow crop rotations. So like, for example, in the eastern or the western Punjab, or what we call Pakistan Punjab and Indian Punjab, most of the wheat follows paddy rice. So it is cereal rotation, is basically the same family. So that also, restricts grain yield of wheat. Whereas in Canada, wheat is usually not repeated after wheat. It is rotated either with canola or some other crop. So crop rotation is there. So, and most farmers sample soils, and there are strong recommendations, strong agronomic base, agronomic and extension support. And apart from the researchers who do their own extension, there are extension agencies from the government of every provincial government or state government. And also there are certified crop advisors. So certified crop advisors, I'm also a certified crop advisor. Certified crop advisors advise farmers. So some are independent consultants, they charge farmers for their advice. And with the result, the farmers have a good package of practices. For example, in my area, my research shows that instead of using one source of nitrogen, we should use multiple sources of nitrogen for crop production. So what we are recommending is that apply ammonium sulfate to meet sulfur requirement of crops. Now wheat, for example, will need 10 to 12 kg of sulfur per hectare. So if you apply 50 kilo of ammonium sulfate, that will meet sulfur requirement, and partly it will supply nitrogen, which is ammoniacal form and which is slowly available. It's not quickly available like urea. And rest of the nitrogen, if we apply 2/3 through urea, 1/3 through ESN. ESN is basically polymer coated urea. What happens is with the polymer coating has micropores. So water will enter into the micropores, slowly dissolve the fertilizer from the granules of urea, ESN, and brings it out. It takes 40 to 60 days for the total nitrogen availability from that. Now, if we apply only ESN, because we have a cold environment, basically, our summer is like your winter, that's what the temperature is. So then it may not work. So that's why I worked on the blends of urea and ESN. So that works better. So urea meets the quick requirement, because 40% of nitrogen in wheat is taken up, by tilling or when the jointing stage starts. Up to that stage, you need 40% of nitrogen there. And later you need the nitrogen too. Particularly, there's a protein premium also to the Canadian farmers. If there's a, 0.5% increase in protein or 1% protein increase, farmer will get some extra money for that. And see that late supply of nitrogen, because plant needs nitrogen throughout its growth, even at the grain development, because that most of that nitrogen which applied either at anthesis, that will go to the grain and adds to the protein content. But this combination, with the multiple source of nitrogen, you can apply nitrogen as once. You don't have to split application of nitrogen. So these are some of the factors. The weather is congenial for wheat production. There's a continuous improvement with the genetics. Every year, farmers follow new varieties. For example, and then some of the farmers, the ESN when I was talking about, it can be applied, entire amount of nitrogen can be applied in the seed row. Because of the coating, urea doesn't injure the roots or the seedlings. So there's no bad effect on the seedlings. So that nitrogen which is applied in the seed row, that is released right there close to the roots and taken up by the roots immediately. So there's hardly any loss of nitrogen from ESN applied in the seed row. So those are some of the techniques we follow. And then, when Dr. Tariq Shah said that 4:2:1 ratio, when he said 2 parts of nitrogen, 1 part of phosphorus, and 0.5 of potash is taken, I don't think that is true. And my work has shown that, on an average, wheat grain removes 90 kilo of nitrogen and 14.3 kilo of phosphorus, 12 kilo of potash, 4.9 kilo of sulfur, 2 kilo calcium, 5.7 magnesium, 0.4 sodium, and then micronutrient in grams, 28 grams copper, 150 gram zinc, 282 gram iron, 98 gram manganese, and 3 gram boron. So sometimes micronutrient, because most of your work has shown only on major nutrients, they're not much shown in the micronutrients. So with the paddy wheat cultivation, particularly the micronutrient deficiency, particularly in lighter soils or coarse soils, has started showing up in both the Punjab, in India and Punjab. And when we talk about balanced nutrition, we have to take care of the micronutrients also, and sulfur too. Particularly in the Canadian environment, because of stringent environmental regulations, there's hardly any acid rain through which sulfur used to be added to the soil. So now our soils are deficient in sulfur and we have to apply sulfur. So if you will be surprised that in corn alone, even though we are talking about wheat, in corn, our farmers use 6 nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, boron, zinc, and sulfur. And with the result, even at maturity, you'll see, you might have seen the corn crop, at the maturity, the lower leaves start yellowing, but here, even up to maturity, right from ground to top, the leaves remain green. Same thing with wheat. So our wheat, even up the maturity time, that when its senescence comes, when the maturity comes, then of course it has to turn. But before that, till the plant is going, till the grain is not ripe, it remains green. So because of the proper nutrition. Other thing we have advantage here is because of colder climate, our organic matter content is much better than Indian or Pakistani soils. So often it is a 4 to 6% organic matter, which means good retention of the soil moisture. And you'll be surprised that only about 5,000 acres in that way in Alberta are irrigated. Our agriculture in Canada is mostly by and large rain-fed. So under rain-fed condition, we are getting that type of yield. See, and then with the, as I said, with the variety and with the improved environmental practices, our farmers have been improving. I'll cite an example. 2 years back, farmer, one of our best farmers, he got 2 metric ton yield per acre. So that is 20 quintals or 50 mounds, you can say, that's what you say. And then last year he got 2.25. This year he got 2.40. So it is a consistent improvement in yield with the advanced genetics, which means better varieties, and also with the better management practices. And this year the yield 2.4 higher than even last year. You'll be surprised that our June was very hot, exceptionally hot, more than 30 degrees Celsius. Wheat ideally, its temperature should be around, average temperature should not exceed 25 degrees Celsius. Otherwise, shrinkage of the grains takes place. The grains do not develop well. So it was hot and dry despite that. So what I feel is that good fertility, good organic matter in the soil, that creates resilience towards climate change. It can tolerate the soil with the good fertility, good management can tolerate the climate effect or climate adversity better than without having those type of things. So this is what I have to say, that farmers are more enlightened. They all go for soil test, and then there are soil test based recommendations. For example, the critical level of phosphorus in soil is considered 20 ppm, that is Olsen P or bicarbonate P. And then potassium associated potassium, that is available potassium, the limit is 120 ppm. And there are books which will make tables for every, if it is 20 ppm, more than 20 ppm, you don't have to apply because the response will be less. But still, farmers can apply to maintain fertility status of the soil. They still apply even if the response is not there. But below that, then as the nutrient content goes down, the amount of phosphorus to be applied goes up. For example, at 0 to 3 ppm phosphorus, one has to apply 110 kg phosphorus per hectare, P2O5 per hectare. Whereas after 20, you don't have to. So all this information is readily available to the farmers. And then there are free consultancies like from the government's people, from the researchers. And there are also private consultants, like I said, certified crop advisors. And then a lot of farmers also go for precision agriculture, particularly in the nutrition for the variable rate of technology. And variable rate of technology also help because as we know, the nutrient content vary from field to field. Our fields are maybe 1 acre. Here, the fields are 90 to 120 acres. One field will be, such a big, around 100 acres, So the low field is below 20 to 30 acres here. So that will be single field. And then in that type of acreage, the variation in soil fertility will be there. And to meet that, variable rate of technology helps too. So a lot of farmers are going for variable rate of technology. I think these are some of the factors that contribute to good production or good yield. So I'll say thank you to you and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Sota. Very nice overview of what is being done in Canada, particularly your criticism of not just sticking to macro, but also to look after micronutrients. Actually, last week we did have a discussion on zinc, but you are probably right that it is more than just zinc. A bigger picture needs to be developed. But an important point that you have raised is organic matter and soil rotation. We are not doing soil rotation, so we are not letting the soils regenerate. And our soils are characteristically deficient in organic matter. FFC presentation showed us that the organic matter deficiency is nearly 98% of the cultivated, irrigated agriculture in Pakistan. We intend to hold a major event on soil salinity on the 29th of this month. I would like to organize another one on soil organic matter, and I need suggestions. And maybe volunteers to help me organize an event on how to develop crop rotation and soil organic matter crisis management tool, or what we have to do actually. High crop intensity, cereal after cereal. You have mentioned the example of rice after wheat and wheat after rice. We also have wheat after cotton. We have corn and wheat rotation. We have potato and corn rotation. None of them are allowing soil regeneration. Soil is actually constantly stressed by excessive depletion. You gave the numbers in terms of how much potash, nitrogen, and phosphorus and the micronutrients are taken away each crop cycle. So much more soil analysis, much more scientific input is required. With this quick comment, I once again invite the audience for any questions or
Dr.
comments.
Dr. Sab, I would like to comment on a thing. There was a question, or rather, someone wants to say, what is the status of soil facility, provision of soil facility to the farming community? The Fauji fertilizer company is providing soil facility to the farming community throughout the Pakistan, and it is free of cost. And farmer no need to come to us. He just has to call us or message us. Our representative will go to him within a week, and he will get his soil or water get analyzed for macronutrient as well as for micronutrients.
Very
and this
good.
is free of cost for every farmer.
I suppose you are talking about your mobile labs, which keep on moving from district to district. So is it true for 160 districts of the country, or it's only the districts where you are present?
Oh no, sir, it is everywhere for Pakistan, because these soil laboratories are fixed at 5 locations.
Yeah.
So we keep on taking these 2 different locations there, but it is for at one location. But our representatives are all over the Pakistan. They can get if someone approached to us, our representative go to him or go to his farm, and he take the samples, and we get analyzed and give the result at his doorstep.
Okay, that's wonderful. Very good. All right, G, any other comments and or questions? G? Okay, so who has raised the hand? Please go ahead. Please go ahead. G.
Yeah, just one thing. I came to know that Bangladesh has already made a government policy to use nanotechnology for agriculture. So that thing is, they are finding it on national basis. It's a useful technology. I always emphasize on this. And in fact, there are over 1,000 companies in the world which are working on nanotechnology used in agriculture. So I think it's high time that our very good researchers get onto it, and it will take some time. We can get on to in competition with our regional countries and save the agricultural production. I think it's good to go it if at some time your researchers can pay attention to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barsal. All right, any other? There's a raised hand. Please go ahead.
So thank you very much. I am Dr. Abdul Wakil from University of Agriculture, Faisalabad. I appreciate the effort.
Do you have
Sorry?
a permission? Do you have a permission?
So I raised the hand, and you said go ahead.
I'm saying, do you have the permission of your institution?
So I don't care about that because it's my professional duty.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I really appreciate the effort made by Dr. Rashid on the balanced use of fertilizer. I also had a lot of discussion with him, and it's very impressive. But the thing which I want to mention here is that he said that the university didn't extend that project. But why not the extension department? We have a crux here that the farmer training is very important for balance use, to get soil analysis, for crop rotation. and the Agriculture Extension Department has a core mandate for that. And I think university don't have a core mandate to extend these information to the farmers. So that's why the projects are not extended, and which can be extended, of course, but that depends on the who's leading and what the funds are available. So I just want to ask Dr. Rashid that why the extension department, they didn't extended this program to the farmers, and if they did, and that what is the impact at national or at provincial level?
Hey, Dr. Shisa, are you there to
Yes.
respond?
Yes, yes. Dr. Vakil, thank you very much for coming up and at least for realizing that who is to do what. Dr. Vakil Saab, the custodian for fertilizer prediction models is University of Agriculture, Faisalabad. Till the time University of Agriculture, Faisalabad does not allow anyone to use these models, nobody can use these models. It is the university has to take lead. It's not the matter that this is mandate of this is mandate of this. When we University of Agriculture, Faisalabad started this prediction models, there was not data-based prediction models in the country available. I appreciate very much that Fauji Fertilizer used these models, but those were not data-based. These was based on the nutrient requirement of the plant. Those was the calculated. This is the only data-based set available in the country. And this is the only set available which showed all links of the chain, right from development to the validation, to the awareness, and to the adoption. So it is the leading person who has to involve the extension and research and education and farmer and fertilizer industry. I know Fatma Fertilizer is very much interested to take over these models, but they cannot use it till the time University of Agriculture, Faisalabad allow it. So it is the University of Agriculture, Faisalabad which put everything in the store. It is about rupees 6 million hardware, which is lying in your store, Dr. Abdul Vakil, and nobody is using it. For the last 2 years, everything is with you. And nobody from Soil Science Department, nobody from anybody is not taking lead. So don't blame others. First look at your own house that you are the leader and you have to lead it and you have to transfer your model to somebody for using. Thank you very much.
Dr. Saab, I would like to comment on this. Thank you. Told about the FFC. We in FFC, although we have been providing this facility to the farming communities since long, now from 2015, we have made it digital through GPS system, and this data can be available to our officers, and they can extend this facility to the farming. At the same time, we are going to launch a app on mobile app on the basis of our own analysis that can be available to the farming community within a couple of days, I think so.
Very good. You know, the competition is the crux of the matter, and if we are competing for a good cause, it's very good. You know, FFC has its own approach, and the model which was developed at the university has approach, but both of them are complementary. End of the day, we all want to really help the farmer. To Dr. Abdul Vakil, I would like to add that you know, you have heard the feelings of Dr. Sheed, but I do want to add that right from the beginning, we have kept the Agriculture Department on board. He has shown you some of the glimpses of field work that was done, where Agriculture Department was always kept informed, their information wing as well as the extension wing. And that's why I had asked Dr. Buttar to come over today, but somehow he could not make it. But the concept which was being developed here, that is database. The database was being expanded through that 2.0 program. So since the department is not represented today, so I don't know what is the current status of 2.0, but the 2.0 is essentially expanding the database so that these prediction models become more reliable. Am I right, Shisa?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, G. So yeah, I think still we can probably work with the extension, and the university could allow the facility, as Dr. Sheed has mentioned, and let it be used by extension department and even by FFC. and other fertilizer industry stakeholders, we would like to ask them to take advantage of what information has been made available.
So that I had meaning that when the website is available and the farmers can access that, and even the department extension worker, they can also access that website. So that why not they are providing the information based on this model to the farmers based on the soil analysis, because they are everywhere in the agriculture. I really appreciate it, and I agree with the Dr. Rashid's feelings. But I think even then the money spent on this model can be utilized by the extension department.
Okay, well, I hope someone is listening. Thank you. Gee, any other comments or questions? We are almost to the end of our allocated 90 minutes, and I wonder if Tariq Shah is still around. Tariq Shah? Huh? May I invite you, sir, to say a few words? वो Tariq Shah बहुत specific question भी करते हैं, and that's very good because he speaks from the user's end. जी Tariq Shah. Yeah. Could not be. Okay, I think we have lost connection with Tariq Shah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so it's been a very rewarding session. I have learned a few more pieces of information, and we are particularly grateful to our guest from Canada, Dr. Tariq Shah. He has shared his experiences with us, and we wish to continue our interaction with him in some future events as well. Every week, on an average, we hold an event. Next week, a very interesting and high-profile event, which is about the diagnosis of failure of our innovation system. The innovation system that basically combines academics, research, and industry efforts to bring about a change, to break the stagnation, to take the level of technology to next higher level. And for that, we have to also probably put ourselves a very latest news from an entity called as Global Innovation Index. According to the latest release of Global Innovation Index, which came out about 10 days ago, Pakistan has slipped several slots from last year, whereas all countries in the region have improved in the global innovation index. It is just coincidence that the Punjab Agriculture SMART program is abbreviation of Strengthening Agriculture Markets something, which is World Bank funded program, which is now also being implemented in other provinces. They have written a diagnostic report on the failures and successes of our innovation system, particularly research and academia. And the report was written jointly by a World Bank representative who is a Dutch man, an Australian R&D expert, and Dr. Mubarak Ali. Dr. Mubarak Ali is our former CEO of PARB and former member of Food Security Planning Commission of Pakistan. I have requested Dr. Mubarak to make the presentation on what they have written. The report is available online. We would like to hear from him. But before he makes his presentation next week, we will also have a brief presentation on what is this Global Innovation Index about, and another sample of innovation we will take from UK Rothamsted and Dr. Halamud, who is innovation lead at Rothamsted. He will speak at the occasion, and then we will have a very interesting capping presentation by former Vice Chancellor of LUMS, Dr. Zuhrul Hassan, whom I have known for several years. He has been investigating the innovation in agriculture. He is basically an engineer and then a Stanford graduate who has been heading different programs at LUMS, ultimately retiring as Vice Chancellor LUMS. Would like to listen from him what he thinks about innovation and agriculture in Pakistan. The session will be chaired by General Khalid Makbul, former governor and chancellor of universities in Punjab for nearly a decade, and co-chaired by Dr. Mukhtar Ahmed, former chairman of Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. I've invited all vice chancellors and DGs to come and listen to that discussion next Saturday. So through this brief, I would like to inform the House that next week we will have a very, very intense discussion on what's going on in the R&D system of the country. Thank you. We close.